guys, my name is Cassidy and you're watching That Spooky Lifestyle, where we bring the ooky, the spooky, the creepy and the crawly into our everyday lives. Today, I am so excited because we are going to be talking about Baba Yaga. Now, I've known about Baba Yaga since I was like 11 or 12, like many years. But my boyfriend like literally had no idea when I asked him today. So in Canada, I think it kind of depends. If you're into folklore and like legends and things like that, you probably have heard of Baba Yaga, but if not, this might be a new topic for you. Do have a quick disclaimer. Like I said, I'm Canadian. I'm gonna try my best with name pronouncing and getting facts right, but like honestly, I'm just out here trying my best and that's all I can deliver for you guys. So with that being said, we are going to do our makeup and talk about Baba Yaga. Let's get right into it, guys. Let's talk about what we know about Baba Yaga, or what I know about Baba Yaga anyways. When someone says Baba Yaga, what I think of is first her house, obviously. I know that she's got like a kind of a cabin that sits on top of these chicken legs, and that is like so everything. I love that for her. I've always known that she was kind of like a witch type character. I knew that she was bad. I never thought that she was like a good person. I didn't know what made her bad. I just knew that she was like, you didn't want to run into her. I know that she's also an old lady. She's not like like a 19-year-old out here being like, yeah, I'm Baba Yaga. Like, she's kind of this withered old lady character, and she's supposed to be really mean and looks all kind of messed up, like evil. And that's basically all I really know about her. Oh, I just lied. I also know that she's like a European folklore. Like, she's not from North America. She's a European character. But now that's all I know about her, or knew about her, I should say. Which honestly, when you think about it, she's kind of like a bad bitch. She's like independent, she lives in the woods, like no neighbors. Can I get an amen? Baba Yaga first appeared in 1755 in like a literature script thing. Listen, the website didn't say, and I'm not out here trying to translate Russian because I'm super unqualified for that. So Baba Yaga first appears in 1755 by Mikhail Lomonosov? No. And his work is called Russian Grammar, which is like, again, I don't know if that's like a book or a poem or some piece of scripture. Like, I just don't know what kind of work that is. The website didn't say. Let's look up how to properly pronounce his name.
Pronouncenames.com.
Okay.
Mikhail Vassilievich Lomonosov.
Wow, I was not even close. Oh no. My bad, I'm sorry. Okay, you know what? Let's just call him... Let's just not call him. Okay, so she showed up like 3 or 4 times in 1755 and then just kind of gained popularity after that. Now, looking at her name, Baba Yaga, people have speculated on why like this is her name and where it came from. Now again, I'm not qualified to talk about this, but there is a difference between like old Russian and modern Russian, and so some people say that like Baba and Babushka mean basically like grandmother or midwife or just like an older woman, old wise woman in modern Russian and old Russian, depending which you're looking at, which definitely falls in line with the character. And then Yaga, people be out here still not knowing. They're like, could be Czech, could be Lithuanian, I don't know. It really, like, from reading online, it looks like everyone was just looking for different words that kind of sounded like Yaga, and we're like, yep, that's it. That's obviously why that's her name. And I don't know, it's just funny to me, like, whoever initially created Baba Yaga, I just really hope that when they like created this character, they were just like, oh yeah, people will totally get the last name. Like, they'll totally get why we called her Baba Yaga. There won't be any discussion or confusion there. It's just so obvious. Looking at the character, her appearance is always like the skinny, kind of malnourished, creepy old lady. She is never like warm and cuddly grandma. She is always a scary, scary woman. I also just find it like a little funny and ironic that she is super skinny, because when we get more into it, she's kind of known for eating people, and it's just like, when you're blessed with a fast metabolism. So some interesting information that I found out is Baba Yaga isn't just evil. She's actually known in her stories and folklore as a wise woman as well. So although she does have like a malicious side where she, you know, is kind of a huge bitch and like eats people, you know, like you do, she can also be really helpful in stories, especially when you only when you earn it, essentially. So I thought that was interesting, because my whole life I always thought she was just like this really evil character who lived in the woods, and it was just like, don't go in the woods after dark, children, you know, like I thought it was kind of like that whole thing. But like most people know, she is a witch, and she does in fact have magical powers. She can kind of bend the natural world around her with like plants and animals. They can kind of like, they kind of help her out. Not really help her out, but like do her bidding in some stories. And she also flies around, but she does not fly on a broom. She flies in a metal and a mortar and pestle. Nope, not metal. And she does have a broom, but it's to sweep her tracks, so like no one can find her. She watches CSI Miami, you know. You know, girl, those forensics will get you every time. Every time. So that's kind of cool that she's got like her own thing going on, and she uses the pestle as like a steering thing, which is kind of, it's like a little badass, you know what I mean? It, like in your head it looks silly, but then when you see pictures of her, you're like, okay, bitch, work, do your thing, girl. That's how you gotta get around. Like, that's how you gotta get around, girl. We need to talk about her house, because it is everything. Okay, she lives in the woods, which who the fuck doesn't want to live in the woods? Literally no one. And her house, like, I couldn't find any real details on why her house is like so iconic. She lives in the woods in this sort of cabin house, and it sits on chicken legs. It, like most people, I think, even if you don't know who Baba Yaga is, you see the chicken legs and you're like, oh, I've seen that before. Or like, oh yeah, that's been in movies. Or like, most recently, I think she was in Hellboy. Hellboy's rendition of, or Hellboy 2, their rendition of Baba Yaga, like, gave me nightmares. Like, that bitch is fucking scary! She kind of got this, like, cabin in the woods, and her cabin sits on chicken legs. Now, normally, her house is usually sitting in a clearing in the middle of the woods, or it's like walking around the woods. It's kind of one or the other depending on what story you are reading. And some people speculate that because Baba Yaga, kind of like an outcast, like she's kind of doing her own thing. She's very resourceful because obviously she lives on her own, and she's out here flying her mortar and pestle, sweeping up her tracks, you know, like she's a bad bitch. Some people have theorized that the reason that there are chicken legs on the house is because she's using parts of the bird that people would normally throw away. So she's trying to find value in parts that normal society wouldn't, because again, she's like resourceful and kind of an outcast. So anything that regular people like, she probably is like, or regular people don't like, she's all like, I'm gonna use this and it's all you. So that's just a theory. So now if you're all hearing this like, damn, I want to check out this Baba Yaga, where's she at though? Even like, you can't just walk in the woods and find this bitch. Like, that would be way too simple. You need to either have a magic feather, a magic string, like thread, or a magic doll show you the way. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what kids are out here following magic dolls, because that is creepy as shit. Like, if I found a doll in the woods that was like, come this way, I'd be like, no, I think I'm good. I think I'm gonna go back home, thanks. You know what I mean? Like, who is out here following magic dolls? Like, confusion. I'm just confused. Anyway, even if you get this magical help and they take you to Baba Yaga, you can't just like walk into her house. you have to say a magic phrase. And the magic phrase is turn your back to the forest and your front to me. Like, you have to say that while you're staring at her house. And then it's kind of unclear if this like unlocks the door, or if, you know, her chicken house sits down and you can get in it, or maybe it's walking around. Like, it doesn't really say exactly how this lets you in, it just does. So, bit vague there. One origin story of Baba Yaga is that the devil wanted to create someone who was just as wicked and evil and gruesome as he was. So what he did is he melted down 12 evil women and turned them into Baba Yaga. So that is one story of like how she kind of came into existence, or came into being, you know? There are like lots of stories about her though, so kind of. Most popular one, or one of the most popular ones, is Vassilisa the Beautiful. So this girl, she is super beautiful, Vassilisa, but she's also like mad young. At least in some of the things I was reading, she's like 8, so it's like, maybe this was a different time. Or maybe she's just 8 like when the story starts, and then she actually ages throughout the story, and I just didn't catch that, because that's also super possible. Well, basically, Vassilisa, her mother gives her a doll. Dolls must be big in Russia. They're like kind of big here and in the US, but not like, I don't think they're the same type of doll. Like Barbie's really big here. Why am I so washed out? Back at it again, sorry. Like Barbie's really big here, and like Polly Pockets, but not like those actual, like, not actual dolls aren't that big here. You can still buy one if you wanted one, but like I don't see any like advertisements for them or anything like that. So like, I don't know. You take with that information what you think. Anyways, so her mom gives her this doll and says that whenever you need help, just feed the doll and the doll will like look after you, you know, come and help you basically. And then her mom gets sick, and unfortunately in this story her mom dies. So all she has left is this little doll of hers. And so her dad, obviously like every fairy tale, remarries, and her stepmom is a wicked old lady. She's not really old, but she is wicked. And she also has 2 stepsisters who are also wicked. Very similar to Cinderella, and it's embarrassing to me that I had to get like through the entire story before I made that connection. I'm like, why is this so similar? And then I was like, oh, it's just like that. So it's got a lot of like Cinderella, dressed in yellow, went downstairs to kiss her fella. Do you guys have those where you're from? They're like little kind of nursery rhymes for like girls though, usually just sing them. There's so many, like Cinderella dressed in yellow went downstairs to kiss her fella, made a mistake and kissed a snake, how many doctors did it take? And then you're like, there's patty cake ones, and then there's skipping rope ones when you skip rope, and it was like 1, 2, 3. Yeah, anyways, this is so stupid. Why am I talking about that? So the stepmom asks Vassilisa to perform a number of tasks for her, and obviously they're like super annoying tasks, and she's obviously expecting Vassilisa to fail because she's evil. But Vassilisa feeds her doll, and her doll helps her complete these tasks, no problem. Coming back around to, like we said, Vassilisa in this story, super gorgeous. Like, I can't do it, but like, you know what I'm saying? So pretty soon, a bunch of boys, I don't know, in her village, in her town, wherever she be living, started to notice, and were like, hey, you got a man, you know? Like, if it was in this time, like, they would be sliding into her DMs, like, her Tinder would be blowing up, they were swiping, girl. They were super interested, but this evil woman, stepmother, she had the two daughters, like I said, and they were older than Vassilisa, so she thought that her daughters should be married first because they are older. But none of the suitors wanted to marry her stepsisters because, I don't know, maybe they're huge bitches, maybe they're ugly, we don't really know. It's just like, I just find that so funny. Like, if you went to ask for someone's hand in marriage and the mom was like, can't have her, but what about her? And they were just like, yeah, I don't think that's gonna work for me. Like, what an awkward conversation to have. Anyways, I just find that really funny. Sorry. So then Vassilisa was obviously upset because she's like, what the heck? So then she just kind of like stays at home and isn't allowed out, and it's just like a super depressing time, just like Cinderella. Obviously, I think this story came way before Cinderella, so like... Then, like all good tales, her dad, the only guy who's not a super huge douche in this story, goes on a business trip. Sorry, I'm looking for something. Like... Pardon you? Where did I... Oh, fuck, it's right in front of me. Awkward when that happens. So yeah, her dad goes on a business trip and will be away for a while. Now, what I read didn't really explain this part that well, but her stepmom sold their house, sold all of their belongings, and moved them to a cottage in the woods while he was away. Like, you know when you just have like a bad day and you're just sick of everything and you're like, I'm done with this, I'm done with that, like, I'm so out of here. Like, that was just her mentality, I guess. But yeah, the article I read on it didn't really explain that part of the story that much, so I don't know why she did it, but I just find that really funny. So obviously they live in the woods. They've got a bunch of candles that are lit to, you know, keep them so they can see shit. And one night the girls have to go out and snuff out all the candles except one. There's one candle that can't be snuffed out because, I don't know, maybe it's like super hard to make fire, and if they snuff them all out then it's kind of like, what the fuck, like how are we gonna get fire again? At least that's, you know, the vibe. Again, it was a different time than it is now. But anyways, one of the stepsisters accidentally snuffs out the candle that's not supposed to be snuffed. So then they snuffed all the candles out. And yeah, apparently they just like can't make fire again or something. So then the stepmom blames Vassilisa, because I think the stepdaughter was like, it was her, because you know how kids are. So then the stepmom told Vassilisa that you have to go get fire from Baba Yaga. And Vassilisa was like, I think this is a bad idea. And her stepmom was like, I don't care. Go on, girl. Like any strong heroine, Vassilisa feeds her doll. And her doll comes alive and is like, girl, it's gonna be fine. Let's go to Baba Yaga. Let's get it done. Our bad bitch, Vassilisa, strolling through the forest with her doll. They end up finding her hut. Now, it doesn't say that a thread or a feather or a doll helped her there. Maybe her own doll helped her find this hut. I mean, like, doesn't super follow all of the Baba Yaga folklore, but like, that's fine. It's fine, it's fine, it's fine, it's cool, 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 cool. So, they find the hut, but I don't know, they can't get into it, or it's like standing up, or Baba Yaga isn't home. It doesn't really explain it that well. So then they're just waiting, and they're like, well, shit. While they're waiting by her hut, 3 riders go by them. The first one, dressed all in white, with a white horse. Doesn't talk to her, just rides by her. She's like, okay. Then, a little while later, a red rider on a red horse goes by her. Doesn't talk to her, just rides on by. She's like, okay. And then the third rider, dressed all in black, passes by her. Again, doesn't say anything. And by this time, Vassilisa has been freaking waiting forever, and she's like, I don't know, Baba Yaga's not coming, or we won't be able to get in our house. Like, just complaining to her doll, like, it's impossible. This is impossible. And then, all of a sudden, Baba Yaga shows up after this black rider comes. Baba Yaga, being the kind of like helpful but also not helpful person in this story, promises to give Vassilisa fire if she completes a set of tasks for her. Now, listen, this was obviously like a different time, because like when I first read this, I was like, oh, I wonder what her tasks were. Like, did she have to, you know, like go to a magical cave and gather some magical flowers, or did she have to, you know, friggin' there'd be some sort of danger to this story? No. The tasks she had were like You have to do all my laundry. You gotta clean all the dirty dishes that are here. I want you to sweep the floors and it better be spotless. I don't want to see 1 ounce of dirt on the floor. You know what I mean? It's a very like back in the day, like women chores sort of story. Anyways, it just made me laugh because like when you hear stories about boys, it's like, oh, they had to go and fight this crazy dragon, and like this story they're just like, can you do my laundry? Can you just like Baba Yaga's like, girl, it's just been sitting over there and it's piling up. I've been meaning to do it, but damn, you know, like some days you just don't fucking feel like it. While Vassilisa is carrying out these tasks, she gets extremely tired and she still has to sort a bunch of corn, sort the good corn from the bad corn, and there was something else she had to do. But girl, she was just exhausted. She had been cleaning and washing all day and she just felt very hopeless, like, oh my god, this is never gonna work out and Baba Yaga's gonna eat me. And that's when her doll was all like, girl, I got you. You nap and I'll figure this out, don't you worry. So Vassilisa goes to sleep and the doll finishes all these tasks. Like, what is the moral of that story? Like, girl, when you have too much to do that you can't get done and you take a nap, like literally Vassilisa is like the pioneer of that meme, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Anyways, Baba Yaga comes home and sees that everything is spotless. And she's like, okay. But she knew that it was too much for one person to do. So she was a little bit like, how'd you get it all done? I look crazy right now. Listen, it will all come together in the end. But I do look a little crazy right now. That's okay. That's okay, girl. It's okay. I need a smaller brush. This one. And anyways, so Vassilisa looks at Baba Yaga and goes, I completed it all with my mother's blessing. And Baba Yaga kind of freaks out and is like, I don't know, she doesn't want any blessings in her house or something. It was like really weird. Some people speculate that like because Baba Yaga is like either born of the devil or evil, that like that's why she doesn't like blessings in her house, because she's like an evil person. But I don't know, it's kind of like vague. But anyway, she gives Vassilisa fire because technically she completed all the tasks. But like really, you and I both know that the doll should have got the fire and Vassilisa should have been eaten. But like, who are we to judge? Vassilisa goes home, basically finds her stepsisters and stepmother just sitting in the dark because they couldn't get anything, any fire started. But the fire that Vassilisa got from Baba Yaga was so bright and so intense that it just singed the stepmother and the stepsisters, and they burned up and they died. Honestly, love that for her. So then Vassilisa buried this fire skull thing that she got so that it couldn't harm anybody else. And then the story was like kind of real vague. She like went to be a seamstress or something and ended up in the prince's castle and then ends up marrying a prince. Like, okay. Like, okay girl, whatever, do you. If that's the life you want to lead, that's the life you want to lead. Okay, I've got like dirty bits here that I need to clean up. Anyways though, this story does kind of touch base on that Baba Yaga is good in a way, in the sense that she'll like uphold her end of the deal, but she's also still evil because she did technically want to eat Vassilisa. So I mean, you know, it's complicated. She's a complicated woman. Yeah, that's probably one of the more popular tales of Baba Yaga. There is another story of Baba Yaga with 3 children, where the children's parents or the children's mom didn't want them anymore or something, so the mom sent them to Baba Yaga to be eaten. But these kids ended up escaping because these like plants and animals ended up helping them out because Baba Yaga had been neglecting them. And so then that story kind of touches on like, even though Baba Yaga can kind of bend the natural elements around her, she doesn't like fully control them. Like, she was being a total dick to these plants and these animals. And so they're like, fine, F you, Baba Yaga, we're gonna help out these kids. So people like continue to study Baba Yaga because she's such an interesting character. She's like not fully evil and not fully good. Like we're not real sure what category she falls under, but she is a fascinating bitch, let me tell you. A lot of people also compare Baba Yaga to the boogeyman, and like I kind of see that, I kind of don't, to be honest. I get that in the sense of she's supposed to keep children in line and, you know, make sure they're not wandering into the forest at like weird ass hours or just by themselves, which like it's a good thing I never lived by like a big forest, because I would totally do that. I lived in the prairies, and so we were outside a lot and like went quadding in places and stuff, but it wasn't like a thick dense forest where you could get lost. Like you could like see your house from like 10 kilometers away. Do you know what I mean? So there's that. Yeah, so I think that's more what people mean when they relate her to the boogeyman, because the boogeyman, at least in Canada, to me, is like a creature that lives under your bed or in your closet, and it doesn't have a definitive shape. It's just this scary creature, and I think the boogeyman kind of leaves it up to the kids' imagination to, depending on their own fears, what the boogeyman looks like, which I think is one of the coolest parts about him. Obviously, to me, he's a guy. But yeah, other than that, I don't see a lot of similarities between Baba Yaga and the boogeyman, but that's just my own personal opinion. Now, we are at the end, basically, of the video. I'm just gonna add a little shimmer up here and then pop on some lashes, and I will be back. Ooh, let's let the hair down. It's already got product in it, so it's like not moving much anyways. Cool. Yeah, so that's basically all I have to say on Baba Yaga. Doing folklore is like a bit different than like an origin story, because in an origin story I kind of just start from when it started and go up to now, whereas like with folklore you can really dive in as far as you want to go. So I don't know, this is what I thought was interesting about Baba Yaga. Let me know down below, especially if you live in Europe and you know about Baba Yaga. Even if you don't, even if you live in the US or Canada and you know about Baba Yaga, let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know how accurate you thought it was, your stories, your family stories. I want to hear that shit. I try to reply as often as I can. It might not be in the same day, but I always try and reply to everybody. Yeah, thank you guys so much for sticking it out, watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. Head on over to thatspookylifestyle.com if you want more ooky, spooky, creepy crawly in your everyday life. And follow me on Instagram at thatspookylifestyle or on Facebook at thatspookylifestyle. I always post creepy pics and like just stuff that'll fill your little black heart. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.